So far, you've learned two ethical theories, utilitarianism and deontology. Utilitarianism says that the goodness of an action is purely determined by the amount of pleasure or happiness that its consequences bring about. Deontology says that the goodness of an action is purely determined by the intention of the action. Is my action motivated by a sense of duty to respect the universal moral law? Both theories, we've seen, can lead to some counterintuitive results. Utilitarianism, for example, can justify certain atrocities. Scapegoating and slavery, for example, can be justified, provided maximal net pleasure is gained. But deontology too seems to lead to atrocities. According to deontology, you can't lie to save a life. But this is strange. Why would words be more important than a human life? Modern virtue ethics can be understood as an attempt to find middle ground between these two theories. According to virtue ethics, being a good person is more important than doing the right thing. So forget the question, what's the right thing to do, just for a moment. Instead ask, how can I be a good person? For a virtue ethicist, this means having a good character. A good character is a person's total set of behavioral dispositions. Now, a disposition is a propensity or an urge to act without thinking in a given situation. Let me give you an example. Suppose you're walking down the street and you encounter a homeless person asking for money. Some of us immediately feel empathy and have a strong urge to help this person. That urge to act is a disposition. But others might feel a strong aversion in the same situation. They might have a strong urge to avoid eye contact and pretend that this isn't happening. That's a different disposition. Our character, then, is the sum total of all the dispositions we have to behave in certain situations. And people have very different characters. Some people are very fearful, while some are overly bold in danger. Some people have an urge to talk too much, but some are extremely shy. According to virtue ethics, being a good person means cultivating and possessing a good character, that is, a set of good dispositions. But what are good dispositions? According to virtue ethics, good dispositions are moderate dispositions as opposed to extreme dispositions. Let me give you an example. Suppose you're a soldier drafted into service during World War II. You may have a cowardly disposition and feel a strong urge to flee the country and avoid going to war at all cost simply because you're scared of war. Or you may have a rash disposition and a strong urge to rush headlong into war without any concern for your safety. Both dispositions are non-virtuous. Virtue ethicists call both dispositions vices. Virtue ethicists call both dispositions vices. And a vice is the opposite of a virtue. Rashness here is the vice of excess. It's a tendency toward too much action. Cowardice here is the vice of deficiency. It's a tendency toward not enough action. But courage is virtue, and it is the middle point between these two vices. And it's also a disposition toward the appropriate amount of action. A truly courageous person has an urge to act very carefully in the face of fear. And a courageous person is a good person. A courageous person will automatically do the right thing with respect to courage in any given situation. But there are many other virtues that you will learn about in this module. Now you may be wondering, how does virtue ethics resolve any of the issues associated with utilitarianism and deontology? With respect to the axe murderer problem, a virtue ethicist would say that honesty is the correct virtue in this situation. Saying exactly what needs to be said given the extremity of the situation. As such, a virtue ethicist would have no issue lying to an axe murderer to save a life, since that's what the situation calls for. With respect to the atrocities associated with utilitarianism, a virtue ethicist would argue that scapegoating and slavery are extreme forms of action that are motivated by an extreme, that is, a vicious, character. In the end, virtue ethics attempts to preemptively deny atrocities by calling us to be moderate in all that we do.